Is it appropriate to thank someone for that type of interview? I can't decide. I'm kind of 50-50 on that, Chad. I knew I was sunk whenever he said, oh, I'll come up with something. I was doomed at that point. I appreciate everybody having me here today. I find it interesting. I have been in radio for over 20 years now. I do a morning show and have for over 15 years on a 100,000 watt radio station that covers 8 counties in Mississippi, 3 parishes in Louisiana, and in this room I'm known as Drake's dad. I'm not quite sure how that worked out, but and I do want to say before I get started, I have to tell you, some people might want to argue with me, but I'll go to the mat with you on this. There's not a dad in here that is prouder of his kid than I am of that one. I don't know how he turned out so good. Not a clue. I look around the house and go, well, it wasn't me, right? Yeah, Pops. It had to have been him, right? It's the only possible good influence that he had. I'll tell you what, Chip told me I could do this, so there we go. I can get that out of the way. I'm going to ask a stupid question I already know the answer to. Just show your hands, and nobody knows what I'm going to talk about, including your program chairman, which means there may be a meeting after the meeting today to discuss what some of those duties are. How many people in here, by a show of hands, are business people? Just raise your hands. Okay, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up for just a second. All of you business people, how many of you have all the business that you want right now? Keep your hand up. Where'd they go? Everybody left. Well, that's the point. You know, a lot of people have a misconception about how they can advance their business, how they can get more business, how they can get more people. I've dealt with advertising professionally for a long, long time now. Recently, over the past couple of years, I've gotten involved with internet marketing as well. Completely different animal from what you deal with on a day-to-day basis. Your advertising dollars that you spend, a lot of times you don't really know exactly what results you got from what. If you run an ad in the paper and an ad on the radio and put a billboard up and you get a rush of traffic, where did it come from? Which one did it? Sometimes it's hard to track. Online, they can tell you exactly how many people clicked on your ad, how many of those actually bought something. When they send emails out, when you get that spam that you hate to get, they know, you can track it on the other end, how many people got your email, how many people opened your email, and how many people clicked a link in your email. They know exactly how well it's worked. Tracking and testing is very important in marketing. A lot of people use a process that we call spray and pray. A couple of people familiar with it. I heard the laugh. You spray your message against the wall and pray something sticks. It's spray and pray marketing. You have to be a little more scientific than that with it. I have asked, I'm not going to call his name because he's here today, but I asked somebody one time what their most effective form of marketing, what their most effective advertising that they did was. They immediately had an answer. And I'm sure you were too. They said, oh, it's my billboard. I said, okay, that's awesome. I said, you get most of your business from your billboard, most of your new business, most of your results from your advertising dollar from your billboard. He said, yes. I said, how do you know? And you can hear crickets off in the distance as he stood there and tried to figure it out. A lot of people are in that situation. You throw the money out there and you hope it works. Then you wait and see what happens. It doesn't always work out that way. You have to be able to test it. You have to be able to track it. You have to be able to see, if I spend this amount here, what am I going to get back from it? What can I realistically expect to get back from it? Most people don't do that. And I'm going to go ahead before Jack starts throwing rolls at me. While you would expect me to stand here and say, oh, radio all the way. You got to use radio. Nothing else works. No, it's not the case. For some people, newspaper is going to work better. For some people, direct mail is going to be their best response. For some people, cable. For some people, radio. It depends on your business, it depends on your target market, but you're never going to know if you're using your most effective advertising medium unless you test them all. And I don't mean go spend some money on advertising and see what happens. That's not testing. We're back to spray and pray at that point. You have to know what results you get from the money you spend and be able to figure it out. There's a mistake that a lot of people make with their marketing. I have seen a lot of advertisements in my career. I've seen a lot of commercials. A lot of commercials. Some good, and there's the rest of them. You've heard some of them. But one thing that I've noticed, most people don't have, again, show of hands, how many people in here know what a USP is when I say that, if you've heard of it? That's why I wanted to talk about this. USP stands for Unique Selling Proposition. Have you heard of it that way? That is, do you know what I'm talking about? Well, I'm going to tell you. Your unique selling proposition is, by definition, the one thing you can say about your business that no one else can say about their business in your competition truthfully. And it's got to be something that encourages people to come and spend their money with you instead of your competition. A lot of people have the wrong idea about what a USP is. If I see another commercial, I'm just going to be honest with you guys here. If I see another commercial that talks about their friendly, knowledgeable staff, I'm going to probably pull both of the hairs I have left out of my head. People think that's important to have in their advertisements. We have over 80 years combined experience. So, I hate to say it, most of the people that receive your message, their response is going to be whoop-de-doo. That's nice. You got 80 people on staff with a year experience each, or one really old guy wheeling around in the back of the warehouse. It could be either one. That tells you nothing about why they should give you their money, which is the whole point of a marketing message, is to get that point across to them. Everybody uses that. The problem with coming up with a USP is it's hard, especially for your own business, and here's why. Even though you are in a lot of respects, it is very hard to be objective about your own business for the same reason you think your kids and grandkids are cuter than everybody else thinks they are. Let's be honest. You take your kids somewhere and let them run around for an hour, ask the strangers that were there and get their opinion about your kids or your grandkids. And then ask grandma's opinion about that same hour. You're going to get two different answers every time. That second answer is the one you trust. The first one's the one that's useful. That's the thing to remember. A lot of people think customer service. That's what I need to talk about. How many people in here have ever run an advertisement where they mentioned their customer service or made reference to it or talked about it? I see a few hands going up. How many people in here have competition who are known all over the area for when somebody shows up to their business, they grab them by the scruff of the neck, throw them out the door, shouting, "Don't come back!" and then slam the door? It's not unique. It's expected. That's not a selling point. That's something that is just expected when you walk into a business. The same way that a grocery store advertising and saying, "Hey, we've got milk." That's not a reason to go shop there. You expect them to have milk. They're a grocery store. The only time that comes into play in someone's decision making is if they go there and you don't have milk in stock. Then all of a sudden you haven't met the expectations, but you're not going to lure anybody in. You're not going to convince anybody to make the trip to your business or to your website or whatever and spend their money by telling them, "Hey, we've got what you assume we already have." That's not unique. That's not unique to anyone. Unless, of course, you know, your various competition likes to throw things at people's head when they come in and hangs up on them on the phone and is rude and crude and annoying and everything else. That's very rarely the case. That doesn't mean it's not important. That just means for your marketing message, it's not. In radio, and it's the same problem from a different angle with the newspaper business. For us, the limitation is time. You've got 30 seconds. You've got a certain amount of space that you can fill in a newspaper ad. Why are you going to waste it telling them something they already know or already assume? You've got to give them something else. You've got to give them a reason to assume you're the person that they need to come spend their money with. For example, every once in a while you'll hear a commercial where somebody talks about their convenient location. The trick to a good marketing message is not to let somebody know where you're at, is to convince them that it doesn't matter where you're at. You're the one they've got to come see. You're the one they've got to deal with. Has anyone in here ever price shopped for a doctor or a dentist? When you get sick, have you ever said, well, let's call around and get some prices. I'm not going to spend too much on this. You may call and check and see who will accept your insurance. That's as far as you'll go. You're not going to price shop because it's important. Then why does everyone think that the big selling point is price? Not necessarily, and I hate to say it, I'll bet there's not a business person in here that you can't go in your underwear and your recliner on the internet on your laptop and get it cheaper right now. Price isn't going to get anybody to your door unless it is a whopper stopper price. If Mike starts selling trucks for $10 a piece, oh yeah, there'll be a line down Delaware. Are you going to do that, by the way?
Probably not.
Probably not, yeah. It scares me he had to think about that. Did you notice that? I asked him, he's like, oh, wait a minute, I hadn't thought about that one. That's a good one. And actually, I'm going to pick on you for a second. Not really pick on you, but I'm going to use you as an example on something. That price thing cuts both ways. People don't price shop as much as you think they do, and it's not as important in their buying decision. If you think about it, you have had things that you have bought or services you have paid for that it was not the cheapest you could have got it, but that's who you wanted to do business with. Right there. If you've ever done that on anything, price wasn't the object to you. There was something else that made you make that decision that they let you know about. The same thing applies to your marketing. And when people think marketing, they think, oh, you know, billboard, newspaper, radio, cable, we're done. Maybe direct mail. That's what I want to refer to you. Because the car business makes very good use of direct mail pieces. You get them. You get that bright, shiny, double-sided glossy card in full color with the little key stuck on it. You bring it in. You could be a winner. You could win one of 3 fabulous prizes. And have you ever noticed it's always a new car, $10,000 cash, or a toaster? Am I right? You know which one you're going to get when you walk in the door, right? You take it anyway.